So this year in 2025, I did end up growing potatoes, right? And I just recently, a few days ago, harvested those potatoes, but I also collected some of the potato fruits, right? Potatoes are plants like any other plant, and they produce fruits. Now, these fruits are poisonous, but those fruits contain seeds, which is what I'm after in this video. And so today I'm going to be going through the first part of potato seed collection so that I can hopefully plant them and grow some more genetically diverse potato crops in ensuing seasons. Alright, so these are the potato fruits that I have harvested. I harvested them actually a few days ago. They're starting to kind of starting to rot a little bit. So I figured now is probably a good time to harvest the seeds. So these fruits are fully mature. Again, these fruits are poisonous. Don't eat them. They do look like tomatoes, as the potato plants are related to tomatoes and eggplant and stuff, but these fruits are not edible. They are poisonous. So I collected these because I want to collect the seeds from these potato fruits. Potatoes aren't commonly grown from seeds, right? They're usually grown from potatoes called seed potatoes, right? And those are just normal potatoes that are reserved for planting in the next year. And that's usually for genetic predictability, because, you know, those are basically clones of the parent plants. So, you know, when you plant those, you know what you're going to get. And also, the plants grow larger, and they don't take as much time to develop. When you grow them from seed, they take a longer time to develop. You're probably going to get smaller tubers in the beginning, and then you grow those out. So the plants themselves have to get a lot more established when you grow them from actual seed. So it takes more time and more energy. However, there are some pros to growing potatoes from seed, right? So one is you're allowing the plants to genetically adapt a little bit more over time through selective breeding. So you may be able to get a variety of potato that is better suited to your area over time, as the ones that don't do as well aren't selected to grow later in future seasons. And then also it helps. Growing these from seed also adds a little bit more genetic diversity into the mix, and so it can make overall crops more pest and or disease resistant. So that could be really good. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut this in half here. So we can see we have some seeds in here. And they're kind of aligned in this fruit as they would be in a tomato or an eggplant. And the seeds themselves are, you know, pretty small. Kind of like the size of like a tomatillo seed. Whoop, can't see it. I can see it. So that is the potato seed that you are looking at here. And so I'm going to scoop these seeds out individually, put them on this plate, let them dry out a little bit. So I'm just going to take the edge of the knife, run it against the edge of the plate, and the seed remains right there. Let that dry for a few days. But before I do that, I'm going to harvest the rest of these seeds. I'm thinking about potentially trying to grow these potato seeds out over the winter time, indoors, so that the plants can develop, maybe produce some small potatoes that I could then harvest and turn around and plant in the spring. So I may try doing that with some of the seeds, see if I can get these potato plants to survive indoors during the wintertime. So, you know, I've never done this before, so it's all experimental. And that's kind of the exciting thing about it. So I was smelling the inside of this fruit earlier too, and I mean, it's a little fermenty now because it's been sitting on the counter for a few days after it was picked, but it still kind of has a resemblance of like a cantaloupe type smell to it. Unfortunately, these berries are substantially poisonous, so they're not edible, but they do have an interesting smell to them nonetheless. And in a different video, when I was picking these fruits fresh off the plant, the exterior of them smelled like a mix between cantaloupe and ugly fruit, which was really kind of surprising. Anyway, these, see, I got 4 of them right here. No, you don't see. Yeah, you do. But these fruits are really holding a bunch of seeds, just like tomatoes would or eggplants. Each fruit, even though these are small, right, there are quite a big number of seeds in there. I have no idea what the germination rates are going to be, so I'll probably try to plant a bunch of them this winter. Kind of, you know, be mindful of how many seeds I plant and see how many sprout from that. And then I'll reserve some seeds for the spring if, you know, if they don't do well during the winter time or whatever. And again, the main reason I'm doing this, collecting the seeds and growing them out from seed, is to kind of help bolster my potato crop, right? Have more of genetic diversity to make them a little bit more resistant, a little bit more resilient over time, hopefully. And then also there's just a fun, curious experimental side to it too, just to kind of see how this works, because I've never done this before. I've never grown potatoes from actual seeds. Covering around these seeds, kind of like tomato seeds. I know in tomatoes these can be like seed sprouting inhibitors, maybe contained in that gelatinous, like mucilaginous type coating. It's never been a huge deal for me for growing tomatoes, so I don't know if it will be for affecting the germination rates of the potatoes or not, or if the drying process and that these have already begun to rot a little bit, if that has also potentially kick-started the degradation process of any potential sprouting inhibitors. Because obviously the fruits, you don't want the fruits to sprout and to have seeds that sprout while they're still on the plant, right? You want that fruit to be able to break down a little bit once it falls off the plant and rots, right? So that those seeds can then get the activation cue to begin to grow once they're off the plant and on the ground. Yeah, these potato seeds are very small, definitely a time-consuming activity, but it's the first time I'm ever doing it, so it's actually kind of exciting. Alright, so I have now collected all of my seeds, and this leftover fruit flesh I can actually just put right down in the compost. Conveniently, there is a compost bin right under this table in the hoop house. Yeah, on second thought, when I was working with this fruit, part of it could have been the fermentation, but also like the smell of it kind of started to smell a little bit more like glue-like, a little bit more acrid. So maybe you know, some of the poisonous qualities may have been noticed. So it does kind of smell more like a poisonous berry would, right? Once you really kind of dig into it and work with it. But anyway, I've got a bunch of seeds. Like, we're talking hundreds of seeds here, so a lot of material to play around with and plant and see what works. Thank you so much for checking out this video on collecting potato seeds from fruit. And these are actual potato seeds, right? Not seed potatoes, which is a different term, right? Seed potatoes refers to potatoes that are saved as, you know, stock for potatoes in the next year, right? They're stored as those tubers, and they'll get the eyes, and then you plant those tubers out in the spring. Those are seed potatoes. But potato seeds come from the actual potato fruits. You know, when you get seed potatoes, those are typically basically clones of the previous potato crop, right? Whereas the seeds from the fruits are more genetically different, right? They can have more variation, right? And that's the point. And that's also why a lot of people grow seed potatoes, is because they don't want all that genetic variation. They want predictability in the crop. But I want more genetic variation to make the seeds hopefully a little bit more resilient in my climate where I grow these potatoes. Definitely plan to have some more videos come out in the future on this topic as we move along through the season and into future years. So definitely feel free to stay tuned and subscribe to the channel while you're at it, and feel free to consider joining as a member too. It can be very helpful to the channel. Thanks so much for your time. Look forward to seeing you in a future video. Take care.